Hey now, Judy Moulton, Grateful Mindset Properties coming to you live from WHKP 107.7 FM, AM 1450. Thank you. I'm so grateful to have you listening week after week. Really appreciate it. Judy Moulton, Grateful Mindset Properties, Realty Radio Show host, also broker in charge at Grateful Mindset Properties, where we really focus on top of mind. What we focus on expands. And I am here working in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and supporting all of Western North Carolina and beyond. And I like to just mention just something I read recently that someone shared and made me think about this. I became a realtor due to personal changes that transferred from helping as a trauma clinician to continuing to live a life of purpose and help people make educated, transformative changes through real estate. And that's something I really try to focus on week after week and what we share live on the radio. And I'm really grateful to say that we have a special guest. Today's special guest is Jim Artman, President and founder of Resilient Recovery, running Resilient Recovery North Carolina in response to the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. So I really hope you'll stick around and hear what Jim has to say. He's got a lot to share. He's done this before, so he's going to be a joy to have him on the show. So please stick around after I share just a tad about real estate. So a couple of things to mention. I know a lot of you have been waiting to see what happened after the election and how that may affect values, whether it be in Western North Carolina or anywhere in the country. We have seen a decline from last year at this time to this year. It's been about a 40% drop in prices. And a lot of that we saw, especially in the last couple of months, anywhere from the last 1 to 6 months, before even the hurricane, before the end of September. Some of the things that were really slowing things down and moving us more to a buyer's market were interest rates. You know, those high interest rates. We were almost at 7% for the 30-year and in the mid 6s for the 15-year. And we're back there. We're back now in about 6.7% for the 30-year and about 6.0 to anywhere to 6.05 for the 15-year. So the interest rates have gone up. They are not something that's static. They do tend to go up and down. And we'll expect that they may even go up again before January 1. And then typically what happens, the Fed meets, and after the first of the year, really the 5th to the 10th of the year, we see some changes in the Fed. And we see some changes in the interest rate, and we're obviously going to have a new administration. Some of what has affected the declination of property values has been not only interest rates, it has been the changing of administration and those waiting with bated breath to see who the new appointed official will be. We now know that, and that does tend to affect things overall. So we shall see what happens after the first of the year, including, inflation, interest rates, and new administration. But the belief is that we will continue to move in the buyer's market that we've been in. So currently in a balanced market, what has typically been the busiest season for Western North Carolina has always been the first 2 weeks of October. But we've had some things that have come up in those weeks, and that we will continue to see changes in the market due to the hurricane and all the things that I've just mentioned. But we are at a place of recovery. We are at a place of resilience. It's a great word. Children are not only resilient, but so are areas. And I like to think that Western North Carolina is a very strong place to live. And I'm determined to keep it positive and stay focused on its recovery, as I have been as well since the end of September. Some additional things to mention. We have some new listings that have come on the market, some highlights, some coming soons. I have one myself at 30 Holiday Drive in South Asheville in Arden off of Sweeten Creek, 3,000 plus square feet. Listing price is $525,000, has main floor living, has an open concept. It was built in 2019. Really pretty piece of property, so be sure to check that out, 30 Holiday Drive. On the market, or under contract, within a day or a few days. We've got some of my highlighted properties. We've got 3501, which has now been sold, but 3503, we're still showing it. It is on the market, but not under contract yet. Also in Cummings Cove. Hopefully we'll be getting a contract for that one soon. But 505 King Crest in Flat Rock, a really special piece of property, is under contract, no show, very strong piece of property. We have 19 Lynn Garden in Swannanoa. I know a lot of folks, are interested to see what happens in Swannanoa. I've had agents calling me about, wow, you got that one under contract really quick. We had people looking at it before we had the hurricane, and then also after. Luckily, it did not sustain any damage, and so that one did go under contract very quickly. So lots of things like that, really positive, really purposeful, supporting and educating folks and consumers, whether you're a buyer or a seller, about that. We have about 27 new listings. There are some price increases, believe it or not. We have some back on markets, and we do have several price decreases, things that we'll see this time of year. Again, any reason or no reason, buyer may change their mind. We may have some damage due to the hurricane, maybe any reason that we may be aware of. If you want to know more about those, please give me a call at 828-290-0940, or please check out gratefulmindsetproperties.com. Some of the other highlights that are happening, we have some things that we focus on at Grateful Mindset Properties: somatic art and drawing, somatic art and relationships. Many of my stellar listeners, those of you that follow me on a weekly basis, are familiar that I'm a retired clinician and became a realtor, as I mentioned, is some personal reasons, but everything that I did in the nonprofit world, I do in real estate. So consumer advocacy, focusing on education, focusing on what people don't know that they don't know, which is very important, which are material facts. And that's why people hire me, is because of the value that I bring to the table. So somatic art and drawing is something that looks at what I did as a clinician. So we combine things from the Enneagram, which is a therapeutic orientation. It is not what's called validated research protocol, but it is something that is a therapeutic orientation that people really enjoy. Also EMDR, which is a valid therapeutic protocol, combining aspects of EMDR with aspects of a somatic protocol that I created called IBSR when I was doing my clinical practice and doing research, and also the Enneagram therapeutic orientation. So I hope you'll join us for somatic art and drawing. We have it coming up on December 12th. It is going to be held at the Art League of Hendersonville. You can sign up for that workshop at artleaguehvl.org. As well as some other nonprofits that we support. Softer Streets. I was hired as a response and recovery director, and that's how I got to know Jim, which you'll hear from shortly. Softer Streets is providing, I love to call out nonprofits. I love to have folks that serve our area. And so Softer Streets has been trying to take people off of the streets that have been unhomed, whether it be the hurricane, whether it be homelessness, or whatever the reason. So we support them. I am on their board, and I'm also their Western North Carolina response and recovery person, connecting the dots for those who need help, whatever it might be, whether it be mental health, whether it be housing, and more. Or a home for women vets. I proudly support them, as well as Homes for Youth. The only Homes for Youth supports Henderson County, Polk County. They basically find homes for vetted parents that are full-time foster parents. They provide them homes for the parents as well as the children, and many more. Also Giving Directly. It is a global program. GiveDirectly.org puts money in the hands of people and families. Some research shows that by giving directly, by funding directly the folks that are in need or impoverished, if they've lost their home, etc. Give Directly is one of those programs that has done research that shows that by giving directly, we can make a difference. So So those are some of the things that are top of mind today. I'm going to keep it short and sweet so that I can talk to Jim. Again, Jim Artman is on the show today. Jim, as I mentioned earlier, is the president and founder of Resilient Recovery, running Resilient Recovery North Carolina in response to the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. He's also served 8 years active duty military as a sniper and instructor in the Army. He studied molecular biology and biochemistry. And I'm going to have Jim talk more about who he is, what he does, and what brings him joy. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Julie, how are you?
I'm good. So, Jim, tell me what brings you here today. What would you like to share with the public?
Well, like you said, I've been running Resilient Recovery in North Carolina in response to the hurricane and focused on recovery efforts. You know, there's been sort of phases of recovery, you know, beginning with search and recovery, trying to find missing individuals. Mostly that's all taken care of and done with. And the brunt of our operations, I would say, in like what you call maybe phase 2, is distributing aid and then taking care of providing services for hurricane damage. So any trees that have been, down, falling on people's homes, causing any kind of hazard, blocking driveways, roads, what have you. I've had a team of arborists out of Virginia and Fayetteville working pretty much round the clock ever since the storm with me. Arnold Tree Service has been down. He goes home on the weekend. He actually didn't even go home this past weekend to see his family.
I want to interrupt you there because one thing that occurred to me is talking about arborists, right? Because they care about nature, they care about the trees, and we've lost many trees. Do you have any insight, or has there any been discussion or thoughts on what's happening with something in that regard?
Well, the tree guys that I've been working with are definitely tree nerds.
Of course.
And so, it's been interesting to look at, the amount of resources that are just laying on the ground now. One thing that we've been doing is dragging a log splitter around with us so we can convert a lot of that into firewood.
Good.
But yeah, I think the lumber industry probably took some kind of a hit. One of the guys does have a chainsaw mill, and he's trying to make some boards, although it's very time consuming to do that.
Sure. And it's sort of the focus is, hey, we're trying to move these items so that people's driveways, homes can, so they can always take the other step into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, definitely a lot of trees to deal with. And then
I'm going to interrupt you every once in a while. I'm just going to let you know.
Oh, it's okay. On top of that, actually kind of what's becoming more a significant issue, because a lot of the trees, at least that have fallen on people's homes or impeded their travel, have largely been cleaned up. I mean, We're still doing some of that stuff, but the bigger need, I should say, or effort right now is with the use of heavy equipment. A lot of these debris fields, these matted piles of vegetation and mud and metal and construction debris, and you name it, is in these piles, and they're so large and compacted that the only way that you can really begin to clean that up is with the use of machines. So we've been doing some work parties. We had one in Flat Creek outside of Fairview, just not this past weekend, the weekend before, and got somewhere around 40 or 50 volunteers down there, probably about 10 machines, dump trailers, what have you, and made a huge impact on that creek to clean that up. So I'm working with homeowners and landowners in different areas that were heavily impacted, like in and around Fairview, like Buck Creek, for example, Armstrong RV Park outside of Marion on 226. They were destroyed, so we're going to help them out too, and really just get these big work parties together to separate the vegetation from automotive and appliance debris, and plastics and things like that can't be burned, or it'll be recycled differently.
So are there? I know that at least here in Henderson County, that the for lack of a better word, dump sites that the waste, dump and waste, where people bring things, is still free? Are they still offering that resource where people can bring, like, where do they bring, where is all that debris being taken?
So most of the guidance, and I think there is still a little bit of confusion around this. FEMA has contracted out a company or companies to drive around state routes to collect up debris. So the guidance was separated into these 3 different piles, and somebody will come by to clean it up. And I think that largely is true. I'm not sure if that's true in every county, although I would assume that it is. But the problem with that is that they only service state roads. So a lot of these areas,
especially
for
around
example,
here, we've got
like like where we were working at in Flat Creek, some of those roads don't even exist anymore because the floodwaters deleted them.
Right.
So getting piles, we put it in a place like as close to a state road as we could get to, but that's a challenge, and I don't think that the dumps are taking stuff right now. They are charging for that because of that FEMA directive. I could be wrong about that.
And I don't know. So yeah, we need to be careful because obviously it needs to be validated. But I do know that Henderson County is still free. And that's interesting though, because I had driven to the airport hangar, Spruce Pine, Avery Airport hangar, where I go to pick up donations and deliver. And it was it's just what you just said about the state roads. You go on the state roads, and every time I've gone from the beginning, they were blocked, they were clearing them up. So Avery, Mitchell, Yancey, as you know, got very badly hit. And so when you'd go, they were still cleaning it, but now the side roads, because I had to go deliver to some personal families, I was bringing some donations. I couldn't believe it. The side roads are incredible. Like it's just so much debris everywhere. So that's why I was curious, and I'm gonna probably do some research to find out more.
Yeah, it's significant. I think that the state roads is a good solution for part of it, but we'll probably have to figure out something else along with that to sort of supplement that, because it's too much stuff. Buck Creek, for example, lost over 50 homes and campers in these debris fields that are just like in the middle of the creek. So yeah, even if we could put it alongside of the road, we've run out of space to put it. Waiting for somebody to come. One thing that we've done is with the vegetation piles is burn it.
Right, because you can do that, and it doesn't cause, there's no toxicity creating in the air when you're doing the burning of it.
I mean, aside from just burning wood.
Well, that's true. Vegetation, you're probably okay.
Yeah.
So there's nothing the item. Is there anything recyclable? I mean, you got from that's being not
Sugar.
really. Okay. Some. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, it's just, like I said, it's a huge.
I know. It's a huge. So, but you guys are working on that. That's something that you're working on with your volunteers.
What's that? Recycling?
Just everything. Just the debris, the side roads, the vegetation.
Yes.
Just in that phase 2
Yeah,
cleanup.
And then repairing driveways.
Okay.
There's several projects that we're involved with where landslides have taken a road.
Mm-hmm.
So, some of those are either going to be retaining wall projects or cutting back into the hillside, which also require retaining wall.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, those projects are expensive. They're very heavy on the material requirements for gravel, culvert pipe, retaining wall block, or whatever is used to make the walls. And most of those, if you were to quote them out as like a standard job for somebody, would be 6-figure projects.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not surprised.
So
I know how much it is to cut a road and do all that.
So that's been a really big challenge is finding heavy equipment operators.
Okay.
A lot of the volunteers that we've had have come from out of state.
Okay.
I've had people running heavy equipment from South Carolina, Iowa, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Texas, West Virginia,
And they're all volunteering.
All volunteers, yeah. All volunteering their time,
Their equipment, so
income,
their money,
time
right?
away from their families,
Right.
yeah. So one of the things that we are trying to also do is identify projects where, there could be some funding available, so that way we can, maybe offset the ability to do more volunteering.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the volunteers that have come from out of state, that are just working for free.
Well, I can help you identify funding. That part. This is just a side note. We'll talk about it. But do you have your 501c3 yet, or?
I'm in the process. I've been honestly so busy.
I know. I got
on the
you.
phone constantly every single day.
Okay.
It was even hard to come over here to do this.
I know. All right, I'm gonna.
But no, it's in progress.
Okay.
So.
Do you have somebody helping you with that?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so you've got that part taken care of. All right.
And then, as far as the aid distribution goes, we've got at least a 50,000 square. I'm not sure exactly the square footage, but it's huge. It's enough to handle a lot of the overflow for aid that's coming into the area, because most of the points of distribution are small and they don't have enough space to take semis or the resources to be able to take a 53-foot semi trailer, which would require forklifts and things like that. So we have all of those things, but are working to secure some delivery trucks, because again, everything that we're doing is all volunteer, and hopefully, if I've got trailers or volunteers with trailers, then I can get that stuff out. Otherwise, that process slows down and makes me anxious. So trying to find a couple box trucks to keep people on regular delivery routes.
That makes sense. So I'm sure listeners are probably thinking this. I know. So where's the county? Where's the city? Where's the help locally to kind of not only fund it but to support you in your efforts? Like what involvement have you been able to talk to any officials? What's been the feedback?
So, as far as like the state and local government is concerned, I think that they've largely got their hands full on state roads.
And that has to be their priority.
Yeah. There's also, a significant environmental pollution issue that they probably don't know how to handle it at the time. I don't want to get too much into that, but I would imagine that they've got their hands full.
Trying to solve it, yeah.
Trying to solve those issues. So if it's not a state road, state maintained road, the state, is not claiming responsibility for those repairs. And a lot of those, unfortunately, not covered by insurance, and not really touched by FEMA, at least as far as like the roads and stuff go.
So that's what I was asking about the city or the county. That's Department of Transportation is responsible for those smaller carrier roads.
But they're not. As far as what I've heard from homeowners and stuff and landowners, the state's not claiming responsibility for those repairs. Yeah.
Okay.
And for some of these, well, I have yet to hear of an insurance company that is willing to pay for private road or bridge repairs.
Well, that I'm not surprised.
And like I was saying, a lot of those projects are $20,000 plus projects.
Right.
So the people that live there wouldn't be able to pay for that to be reimbursed in the first place.
Right. It's usually exactly anywhere from 20,000 to 40,000 for just the road. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're trying to raise money to get the materials to do these projects. There's a lot of the ones that I've got kind of in limbo right now. That's what we're waiting on.
Gotcha.
I'm waiting on gravel. I'm waiting on culvert pipe, and equipment operators that can be here and coordinate it all together.
Sure.
So that we can get it taken care of.
Gotcha.
And we've somehow managed to continue to do that nonstop since the hurricane, which is really incredible.
And I know how busy you are, because I know it's hard to reach you by phone, by text, even. So, I mean, I'm grateful that you're here and you took the time to get the word out, to let people know what's happening. And
we actually just had a couple show up from Billings, Montana. they were on vacation in Yellowstone.
Okay.
And were listening to what was going on in Western North Carolina on the radio. Did a quick Google search and found our organization, which is incredible. And so they just took their camper and showed up.
Wow.
And he was blown away when he got to the warehouse, because we just moved in there last week. And
Oh, that's right. It's in Marion,
it's huge,
right?
yeah. And he was so excited because he spent 20 years managing a distribution warehouse. And him and his wife have committed to staying here until at least March.
That's
to
amazing.
run that for you.
Oh, wow, Jim, that's amazing. I love that. So how do people get a hold of you? Because this is important. So Resilient Recovery North Carolina, I mean, I guess they can Google that, but what would, hey, if somebody wants to donate, if somebody wants to volunteer, what would you like to tell them? How do they reach you? What do they need to do?
So we've got a pretty active Facebook page. It's under Resilient Recovery NC for North Carolina. We're on Instagram, TikTok, as Resilient Recovery NC. I had a different business doing something completely different, several things actually before the hurricane.
I get it.
So a landing page I already has extremeresilience.net.
Okay.
And if you go to extremeresilience.net/relief, that takes you to our landing page.
Okay.
So anybody that needs help, if they need supplies, firewood, or if they need a tree cut up or a driveway repair, anything like that, they can submit a request. There's very clear calls to action buttons there.
Okay. And that's
if anybody wants to volunteer, they can also go there.
okay.
And then there's a button for donations as well.
Resilience.
Extreme Resilience.
Extreme Resilience.
.net
/relief. Okay, and that they can find that, and then also Facebook is
Resilient Recovery NC.
Resilient Recovery NC. So 2 ways to be found.
We have a phone number also.
I was going to say, do you have a number? Go ahead.
Yep, you can call our business line at 828-812-8881.
812-8811.
8881.
All right, say it one more time.
It's 828 812 8881.
Perfect. So people can call that and get some direction and help and connect the dots.
That goes directly to me.
And that goes directly to you. So have a warehouse. Right now there's supplies there. Thank you. There's supplies there. If people need them, resources. So right now, phase 2, volunteering, really need some, heavy equipment, right? Folks, and cleanup. What else?
I would like to mention, so for me, or for our organization, phase 3 of this operation will look like, and this is something I was working on before the hurricane, is to help train the workforce that will be needed to rebuild Western North Carolina. So I have a online sort of business accelerator where I'm training people to start service-based companies and holding their hand through that process, plugging them into a system so that way they can scale through, as however much they want to. But that's one thing I was working on, sort of focused for veterans. I am a combat veteran, and I know that many of us get out and don't really want to work for somebody, be told what to do. Probably better.
I'm not a veteran. I don't
probably
want to
better
be
that
told
way
what
for
to do.
everyone involved. But since the hurricane, I think that offer became a lot more relevant.
Okay.
So if there's anybody out there that has skills, they're a builder, they know how to run machines, they're interested in doing pressure washing. There's a ton of stuff. There's a ton of companies that need to be created to help meet the demand for all of those services now in this area.
Because it's going to be ongoing. I mean, it's not like, oh, we're done. We're, like you said, we're in 2, moving hopefully to 3 at some point, but it'll be years, right?
Yeah.
So thank you, Jim, for being on the show today. Jim Artman, president and founder of Resilient Recovery North Carolina. Google, Facebook, you'll find Resilient Recovery North Carolina. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for listening. Grateful Mindset Properties, Judy Moulton, 828-290-0940, gratefulmindsetproperties.com. Thank you again.